Hi guys, welcome to Roll Call with Erin. Today we have Gina, and she is also quadriplegic. I think we're similar levels. If you want
Yeah,
to,
I think we're the exact same level. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like C5, C6. Yeah, so today we're just going to kind of talk about caregiving because I know you kind of are pretty open with your caregivers and how
Oh, yeah.
expensive it is. And I've been pretty lucky that like my caregivers have just been family and my fiance. So I would love to kind of hear maybe like your hiring process or how you choose your caregivers.
All right. Yeah. So I've had caregivers now. So my mom did my care for 5 years before I actually ended up
Okay.
hiring someone. And I remember this tiny little thing from an agency showed up, and I'm not a little girl. Like I'm 5'7" back in the day, when I was on 2 feet.
Yeah.
So this little peanut, it's like 5'1", shows up, and my mom's like, "Oh Lord, how's this gonna work? I hope she's got it." Well, she almost passed out first day because she was wearing like long sleeve, like all like she had layers of clothing, and she had to help me shower, and it's hot in there, and so she was like had me and had to sit down, and my mom was terrified because she was leaving it for a little trip, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be leaving my daughter." I said, "Mom, don't worry. Tomorrow's a new day. She has a second day of training. Now she knows what to expect. Like
Mhm.
things will be better, right?" She came back. She ended up being my caregiver for 5 years.
Wow.
And she only left, yeah, because she ended up leaving because she got pregnant. Shout out, Katie. Love you. Um, but anyway, no, so I learned a lot. I was very young. I started hiring at the beginning, like an agency sent someone out.
Okay.
Well, I don't like that. Also, agencies generally spend, or they're a little more spendy. They're kind of expensive.
Yeah.
And they don't pay their people as much as I pay when I pay
Mhm.
directly. So, for me, over the years, I've had a handful of caregivers that have lasted with me for well over 5 years, which
That's
I
nice.
think is pretty, like, I
Yeah.
don't want to say, but like, it means a lot to me that
Mhm.
they put up with me for that long. So yeah, and I am open about, I try and pay like what I feel like is like also fair to them, and I try and do.
Yeah.
I actually want to pay them. I'd pay them a lot more if I could, but it's also like you're at a point too for me, it's like okay, the expenses, it gets really crazy
Yeah.
sometimes. So but to me they're worth every penny and I love them dearly. Over the years, I would say this. So for like in the hiring process, things that and people laugh at me because I'm like, I used to hire people off Craigslist.
Oh, really?
Um, I like people that don't have any experience.
Yeah.
I like people who aren't in the medical field
Okay.
necessarily. Like, I like people who
Yeah.
are wanting to get into the medical field because that way they learn my routine and they're not coming in and being like, "Oh, the textbook said," but the textbooks
Right.
don't know what it's like to be a
Exactly.
quadriplegic. Okay. So I've been very grateful. I only hire women. I know a lot of times
Mhm.
people, I have men that apply, and personally, I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So, it's nothing personal, like whatever. I was married before, and I had my husband actually do my care once a week, and when we went on vacations, I would never do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely not. I have a strict rule. So then my boyfriend that I dated for 4.5 years had absolutely no part of my care other than nighttime helping me with a
Yeah.
catheter. That's fine, but not in the bowel routine situation. I was like, no. And I would never change that. They're not going there. They ain't
You
going
feel like it
there.
like keeps the relationship more.
Yeah, I think it keeps it for me personally.
Yeah.
I think I like how I feel about my body more when my partner isn't part of that routine. But like,
Get that.
it works for some people. Like, it really does. Some people like absolutely. Like, I knew a couple, and they were together for like 40 years, and he was a quad and like only had her do his care. So
Yeah.
it's totally doable. But for
That's
me
what I
personally, yeah, like you get it. And like,
yeah.
and I am curious. I've got some questions too for you about how it goes. Like how you feel having,
Yeah.
family or, you know, your partner do your care. It's a different dynamic. But one of the things when I'm hiring, so I don't hire people with children. I've learned my lesson over the years, and I'm not trying to be discriminatory, but like, their kids always come first. They're not as available. They tend to call out more, and there's more sicknesses that I'm exposed to, and, or they want to bring their kids to work, and I'm like, I can't say no. I'm a big old sucker.
Right.
So I'm like, I've just learned. I like people with goals and ambition. I like people who take care of themselves. So people always say, dang, you got some pretty caregivers. I'm like, hey, if they can take care of themselves, they can take care of me. All of them have good hygiene themselves, and that plays a role in how they take care of me. So when you're hiring someone, if someone comes in and they're not well kept, I mean, if they can't take care of themselves, they ain't gonna be taking care of you, honey.
That's true.
Yeah, the other thing is, I don't hire people that walk slow. If they come in and they walk slow, I'm like, that'll, because I push so fast in the chair
Right.
usually. So, like, I'm like waiting. So, like, but also I find that, like, if somebody walks really slow, they don't really do, they don't, it just plays out in their life. They live
Yeah.
slow mo, and I'm like, "Ka, ka, 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 ka." So I gotta know that. I have to get along personally with my caregivers. Outside of just care, that's the biggest thing.
Do you
Is
feel like you like become friends with them? Like, is it hard to
oh
like,
gosh, yeah, I actually am gonna go have lunch after this with one of my old caregivers. I
uh,
swear, she messaged me. She's like, "I miss you." I was like, "Let's go have lunch."
yeah, because you get
Um,
close, you know?
yeah, they're my friends. I was with another one of them yesterday. So honestly, like we build these beautiful friendships, and I love them. I have to like them
Yeah,
personally as a person
makes sense.
more than the care aspect of it. So like, I tell people, like, if you're hiring someone, like, pick someone that you would choose as a friend, someone you like, someone that's going to contribute to your life in some way. I love when my girls bring in a different culture. Like, that's always great for me. Like, I love to learn, like,
That's
about new cultures. I learn all about their family and everything too, as much as they learn about mine. So it is caregiving is they it's a hard job, especially when you're mine.
Do you feel like when like you become close friends, is it harder to like tell them what to do and stuff?
Now that I'm older, so like, because they're younger, there's a gap. When I was younger and my caregivers were my age,
That's hard.
like, yes, absolutely. Now that I'm older and I'm more established, and I'm kind of like, it's more of a either big sister, like motherly role instead of a like buddy buddy role. And it was harder when I was younger, and I would recognize, but I actually let a couple people go because things got so lax in the friendship.
Yeah,
Like, it was just a friendship. And I'm like, things aren't
comfortable.
getting done. Yeah, like, things aren't getting done, girl.
Right.
And we're still friends. Like, that's the funny thing, is like they get it too. I
Yeah.
think they start to understand that. But now I have a really good flow of, like, also like a mix between a boss and a friend, because they have expectations of me. Okay. So, more than, if you don't have a good caregiver, it's less likely them and probably a little more you. You're in charge of managing it. If you are not capable of being a good boss, you're not going to get good care. If you're an extremely emotional person that's requiring them to take on more than just your physical care, and you're in the shower crying,
Mhm.
like, that's too much for people. You've got to be happy go lucky, positive. Like, I really express appreciation towards my girls. I
Yeah,
don't resent them.
that's
Uh, yeah. Yeah, so you get, like, I was gonna say, I think that's like, it's perspective. About 10 years into it, I kind of had a flip where I was like, I I went from resenting having care to being grateful.
yeah.
Because I saw so many friends that were like literally being left, like, abandoned pretty much, couldn't get into their beds, and like caregivers not showing up. And I'm like,
Does
what?
does that happen for you? Like, do they ever not show up or call?
I have like a pretty strong policy. If you're a no call, no show, you get fired immediately. Like, so like,
Yeah,
and they know that.
that's
And I've had that a few times. I had one girl, she was like so excited about the job. and she got so drunk that she didn't show up the night. Yeah,
Mm.
and she the next day she's like, I'm really sorry, I know I probably won't have the job, but I'd like to be friends. And I was like, yo, no girl, like we ain't it. But so yeah, I've had a couple over the years, but no, I've got a really solid group right now. Like I
Do
feel
you have like
very
backups if like someone to call if someone
yeah,
doesn't
so
show up?
my old caregivers, yeah, I give them a lot of flexibility. Like if they want to go on trips, I'm like, go ahead, as long as you get coverage. And everyone wants to work because they like the money, and so they're all willing to like switch shifts with each other and stuff like that. I actually have three girls right now that are working for me, 3 days for one, 3 days for the other, and 1 day for the other. So, and
Nice.
she just, yeah, it's nice. So, and then I've got two girls that are willing to back up, more than that really, but actually three, but like I've got three girls that are like fill in cover if something happens. They kind of, come through, and they're caregivers from the past, so it's very
Yeah.
important to keep those relationships with your caregivers. You never know when you're going to need them. Like,
No.
they've saved my ass a handful of times, and I love them dearly, and they know if they ever need anything too, they can get a hold of me.
That,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Do you feel like or I was gonna ask you actually, like, do you need a caregiver all day or do they just come?
No, I have a caregiver in the mornings for doing my routine. They come at night, though, they do, and they help me into bed. And they have their own room, their own bathroom. And then they help me in the middle of the night once. They get to sleep, and then we wake up same time. And then when I wake up, hours like start. They get a flat rate overnight because they're sleeping. And then um I start the hours in the morning, and it's pretty much the same routine every day kind of thing. Like they know what to expect. It's not really like a surprise usually. So and they're here for about 5, 6 hours usually, because I utilize them to help me do things to make my life easier. My mom was very adamant that like pay, don't struggle. Like, there's a lot of people with disabilities out there that are spinal cord injuries that will not take care or not use it. They're like, I could do it, I could do it, I could do it. And my
Yeah.
mom was like, let that arrogance go because you are going to struggle. Either you get on the struggle bus or you get off of it. And I was like, I want off of it.
And it's
You know,
bad for your health, I feel like sometimes on
oh my gosh. Yeah. I I have not had a pressure sore. I'm lucky that way. I'm almost 22 years post.
oh.
And I think that's because, my girls are always watching my ass. But,
Yeah.
it's true. It's true. I actually talk about that. I think about, quadriplegics have it a little bit better than paras sometimes because we don't have to struggle as much. Paras are out there breaking down their chairs and, you
True.
know, doing all like shopping by themselves and like,
Like they're so
transferring out.
independent that they feel like they have to do everything themselves. I agree with
Yeah, and I don't. I'm like, please, can I
you.
get help?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
I get help?
That,
So that's, and I am grateful. They're wonderful women. They're young. One of them is only 19.
wow.
And I know, I'm proud of her. I'm actually 1 year younger than her father, which I'm like, oh, holy crap. Like I'm getting so, but I laugh. And so, my dynamic with her is very different. It's much more
Right.
maternal. Like with her, she's more like yeah, my kid. And then I have another one who's 27, and she's like a little sister, So like, yeah, it's funny because you're like the dynamic between them. So like, it's cool. I like it. I like to have
Yeah.
the relationships in my life. I'm grateful for them.
Yeah, because I always wonder, like a lot of quadriplegics will have caregivers come in, but they don't have them stay the night. And I feel like sometimes I need stuff in the middle of the night, you
Oh
know?
yeah, I'd be terrified. My ass, I'd be like, "Is there a fire?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'd be able to sleep. I think I'd be like,
And then at least you know you're waking up to someone there.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, I can get out of bed the next day. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, but I know people that have done that too, and they're quadriplegics actually. That will have someone come at night, drop them off in the bed, and they're like, I handle it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying for me.
I've seen quads that like have everything they need in their bed with them because
Yeah.
it cracks
I'm like,
me up.
My ass, I'd be sleeping with it. I'd be like sleeping on it,
Yeah, yeah,
you
because
know?
like, God forbid I lose it in the blankets and then I'm done.
Oh yeah, yeah, no. I'll be like, what's that remote shaped thing on my ass? Like
Actually,
I think I know. Yeah. It is funny. Yeah, caregiving is one of those things that like, you don't want to have it, but you're grateful when you do.
yeah, because my fiance is my caregiver right now. He wasn't for like the first 4 years, but now he is. But when we have kids, like I want to be able to like maybe have caregivers at that point, but
Yeah.
I'm so nervous because I never had to do it.
I was gonna say, what holds you back from wanting to do the caregiving? Is he your full-time care like every day?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Are you ever worried about burnout for him?
I I would be if he was also like working another job because at one point he was working and trying to help and that was like too much.
Yeah.
He was getting paid by the state to be my caregiver, but I like recently lost that, so now he's not getting paid, so like that is a little bit more stressful, but
Yeah.
it's just like kind of been our routine. So, and I think I'm just so scared of like having someone else help, but I know it'd be fine.
You'll be fine. Go. You're so lovable. Are you kidding me? See, it's about you. Like, you're so sweet. There's so many girls that would love to work for you. I know it. Like, because you have a lot to offer as a boss, and you have this whole social media platform. You're such a sweetheart. You're going to school. Like, you have a lot to offer as a boss. And I think that you would find there's a beautiful friendship that you'd probably develop.
That's true. I do think
Yeah.
I would struggle with like being a boss in the sense of like if I didn't like how they were doing something, like that's what I worry about. But
You know, have your routine laid out and you train. It's how you train.
yeah,
Okay. It's all about training. Like you got to have them come in. You're like, hey, and explaining. A lot of people will be like, hey, make sure the sheets are straight, to people. And you're like, why? Well, if you're like, hey, if the sheets are super wrinkly, like I end up looking like a zebra in the morning, and they're like, oh shit, okay, I got you. They get it. They understand.
so do you do
Um,
like a whole to-do list that they have when they're there?
I have a list. My routine is so like I actually am not a super picky bitch. Like I'm not. I'm I am about certain things,
Yeah,
but I let them kind of do when they're out there. Like I'm not micromanaging how they put the dishes in the dishwasher and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
I'm finicky about my laundry, but even that I'm like whatever. But yeah, no, it's actually one of those things. Like I do have a list. But other than, there's not a lot that they're like, as long as you guide people to what you're wanting, they're probably not going to mess up too bad. People are going to break things, it happens. Like,
yeah,
and, just being understanding, but also just being honest. If you say no to yourself, like if you say yes to them, you're saying no to yourself,
yeah,
and they want to do a good caregiver wants to do a good job.
yeah.
So, like, yeah, I don't think you'll have a problem with that. Get another sweetie like you, and you'll be just fine. She'll be like, "Oh, I want to make you happy too."
No, I think that would be nice. So would you say like for someone that was newly maybe getting a caregiver their first time, like what would your advice be for hiring?
Someone young, definitely. Someone fit, someone in shape. Bubbly personalities are always a plus. Somebody who has some goals and aspirations. But I would, not make sure that they don't live super far because that never, they just get really sick of that. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's got availability, somebody that is not, doing a million other things too, because then, it just makes it so complicated.
To call
But
and stuff?
yeah, but more than anything, someone that you just get along with. Do your interview and see if you like them.
Yeah.
Like I chat with them more than anything because you can train people to do the routine. It's really not that complicated. I
Yeah.
mean, all of them have learned, and not one of them has any type of medical training. So,
Right.
well, I think a couple of them had a little bit of stuff, but yeah, trust your gut
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to fire. You're not married to this person, like you remember that, like, okay, if I hire them and I don't like it, I can let them go,
Yeah,
and the firing is the worst part of it. It is
that.
the worst. I hate it, but it's necessary.
Right. Yeah, you have to do what's best for you.
Yeah. Because sometimes, I mean, I had one chick, I was like, yo, you gotta go. Because I just didn't feel safe. I was like, oh my gosh. And that was like one time, I was in a pickle. I had to hire someone kind of quick. And
Yeah.
that's when you get your least best people, is
You
when you're
kind
on a fast.
of screw yourself over.
Yeah. So, but take your time. If you have time, take your time hiring. Do a lot of in-person interviews.
Yeah.
I had one girl show up and I was like, dang, you on drugs. So like, you
No.
know what I'm saying? Like, make sure you do if you can, in-person interviews. If you feel safe with them coming to your house, like that's not an issue. I've not had an issue, but if you don't feel safe with them coming to your house, you can meet them out. I used to, but now I'm like, screw that. Come over, see the place.
Yeah.
Kill me, I don't care. I mean, whatever. I've been at this a long time. I'm like, I am fine. So, like
Love it.
that's the thing. I'm grateful though. They're wonderful young ladies. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know how people do the agency where they get a different person every day.
Oh,
That
and
was
I
stressful.
hear horror stories.
Yes.
I hear horror
And that's what I was
stories.
gonna ask
Yeah.
you if you have any funny stories or any horror stories from the past.
I mean, the amount of times I've heard about an OnlyFans in the shower. Like I started an OnlyFans. I'm like, what? Okay. Occasionally, like, some of these girls, I crack up, or like, oh, one of them was like, oh, my boyfriend's on heroin. I was like, wow, okay. This is like shower talk. And you're like, wow. There are things I was like, wait, are you gonna leave him? She's like, well, I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so like, you're like, yeah, wait, what?
Yeah.
No, I've heard a lot of very humorous things. My girls never cease to amaze me with some of the stories that they tell me. I'm like, you what? But I would say the most disappointing one for me was I had a caregiver that worked for me for a while, and she was kind of struggling, I think, with some substance abuse and stuff. She ended up stealing from me. And it's the only one that I know of. I'm like, I don't know if it's happened before, but whatever. That and I had to fire her on the spot for it. And
Yeah.
I was really sad about that one.
Yeah, because that would be definitely one of my fears, like, because we can't really tell if something's missing, if it's like in a box or something,
Yeah.
like I was like, I don't like that. Like, I know this guy that he had a caregiver steal from him, and he literally, what did he put cameras up, and then he made the caregiver only sit on a stool all day so he could watch him all day.
Oh
I was
my
like, I
gosh.
don't think I could tell someone to do that.
I mean, at that point, fire the person if you don't have, like, that's not a good boss. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're going to be like acting like that, like, go
I
hire someone else if you got that.
Yeah.
For me, I've been really lucky. I don't notice a lot of things, but more than anything, they don't tell me when they break things. I'm like, okay, where the hell are the glasses
Yeah.
going? And I'm like, I got to figure this out. I got to get down to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
But no, more than that, yeah, that's kind of the only thing I would say. Don't worry about that. Everything's just material items. They're not going to be stealing your photo albums.
Right.
It's going to be something that you're like, you can probably replace.
Yeah.
Is that, do you have cleaners?
No.
So you don't let anyone in.
No. Like I'm down to do that, but Jack, he likes to do it a certain way and he wants to do it, so he
You
does.
let him do it. Okay.
Yeah. Like I'm for caregivers. I'm for whatever he needs, but
Yeah.
he likes.
Do you feel like now how do you think it impacts your personal relationship?
I don't think so, just because like we're so close that like,
Yeah.
and it's just us, and we have the house and it's so easy. But
Yeah.
when we were in the apartment and he was working full time and he started helping during COVID, because when my mom got sick, like that was like
Yeah.
it was just bad. Like he was exhausted and I felt bad. So
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. I think it is hard. I make sure because, like, even for me, that's the other thing is like I will not have one care. I know people that will have just one caregiver, and I really recommend,
yeah.
if you're hiring, like especially like splitting it up between people. Because like
Yeah.
when my girls go on vacation and stuff, I see that they're exhausted by the end of
Right.
it, because it is a lot of work. It's a lot of transferring, a lot of carrying
Yeah.
stuff, a lot of, so I do think about like that when you were talking about hiring, that's something too to consider is that like, depending on what your schedule is. But I know someone that has a 24/7 caregiver that's been the same one for years, like,
Wow.
and it works. So like, if
Yeah.
it works for you, it works.
Right.
Okay. It's your life. Nobody else is living it other than you. And if you're happy about it, then you're happy about it. Like
Yeah.
I feel like, and that's very important for people to recognize. Like you need to have a routine that you love, that you feel comfortable with, that you feel safe with. Like that is your job to manage,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's definitely good advice. And just clicking with the person, I feel like that would be what I would think would be the most important too.
Oh yeah. I actually I really like my girls. Yeah, they crack me up. Like today I was in the shower and I had one of them I was like, Lisa, will you hand me my razor? And she's like, hands me my razor and I acted like I was gonna shave my face. And she went like she's like, you're gonna raw dog it too? Like, because I didn't have anything. I was like, I'm not shaving my face. I started busting up laughing like it was hysterical. She starts laughing. They roast me like on my clothes. They'll be like, "What the hell is this?" And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
"My style, bitch. It's my style."
It's like people just don't realize like how close you really do get to your caregivers.
Oh gosh. My girl's like, oh, I've seen the majority of them naked.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like the ones I travel with, I'm like, I'll see boobs at some point.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. Yeah. I'm like, oh, for sure. Always. And like, it's hilarious. I actually have pictures of one of them, her boobs all over my shout out Jamie, the one I'm going to lunch with. But she's like, she has this great body, and we had this really awesome hotel room. She's like, I'm gonna take sexy pics. And I was like, all right, let's do it. We're friends. Like we're like drinking wine, taking hot pictures. I'm grateful for them.
Probably makes it like them like the job more, because they're having fun.
Oh, they say like that. The girls say that a lot of times. One of them I just took to a cabana the other day, and we like hung out at a cabana all day.
Oh,
Because I was like, "Hey, I need help transferring in and out of the pool and stuff." She's like, "I got you." We're doing lemon
so
drop shots.
so you do like if you don't have a caregiver scheduled, do you sometimes just call and you're like, hey, I need help really quick, and someone will come?
Well, I'm a planner. I'm not one of those. Like, I actually ahead of time will kind of know what I need and stuff. So I gave her a heads up a couple
Yeah.
days in advance because, like, I'm like, hey, bring your swimsuit after work. You want to go with me to the cabana? I'm going to go meet this chick. She's like, yeah, I'm so down, and she's out there like in her thong, and I'm like, get it, girl, and I'm out there in my bikini, like just like fat as hell. I'm like, I don't care, So she's like, they support. Like, I love them. I love my girls. I actually made a joke. Like, one of the other girls she's in a wheelchair too, and she was talking about how complicated it is to shave, your bikini line. I'm like, right? I hate it, right? So like I'll be like shaving most of it, but then I'm like sitting on a part of it that's like straight mullet, right? And I'm like, I don't want ass hair. So I'm like, Brittany, like, will you shave my ass for me? And
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, I got you, right? So she like shaves my butt, and then we show up, and this girl goes, she's like, oh yeah, don't judge me. I bet I'm hairy. And I was like, oh, not me. I was like, Brittany just shaved my butt, and like they're like, what? I'm like, yes.
They're traumatized.
No, she's like, she did that for you? I was like, yeah, my girl's got me. And she's like, and Brittany's like, yeah. She's like so cool about it. But
Right.
like, she's like, we talked about it later, and I'm like, dude, I would do that for you. Like, not to be weird, but I'm like, as
Right.
a girlfriend, I'd be like, yo, I got you. Like, we wax each other's vaginas.
Exactly.
Like, who cares? Here's my butt. They see my butt all the time.
I think people just get weird that don't, aren't comfortable with that. They're not disabled, so they've never had to be that vulnerable, maybe.
Oh, I say more people have seen me naked than a porn star. Straight up. I should be charging them, actually.
Yes. That's funny.
Just kidding, girls. I traumatize them.
All right. I want to ask
Oh,
you uh since Sure Hands is our sponsor, I know you have a lift. Do you use it ever?
I don't have like a lift.
Huh.
I no, I have a easy pivot. I have a transfer like machine. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have a lift actually. I find yeah, I actually am considering getting one in my next house. This isn't my forever home, so I don't
Yeah.
want to spend the money to put the track system in and everything. But I went and checked them out because I want to get ATV. I want to get an off-road vehicle that I can, not ATV, a UTV.
Yeah.
But I'm wanting to get a UTV that I can ride in with hand controls. So
Ooh,
I think that would be the best way for me to be able to transfer into it
yeah.
without, breaking someone's back.
That's cool. Yeah, because I have a ceiling lift, but I don't really use it that much with Jack, but it's like the only thing I can use with my mom because she's getting so much older. And I feel like worst case scenario, if I had to like call a neighbor, like anyone can
Yeah.
do it. So it does give me like peace of mind.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'd be doing it by myself. I'd be taking naps during the
I
day.
want to. It's hard. The controller. I'm hoping they come out with like the joystick because
Gotcha.
that would be cool. Because then I could.
What if you like glue something onto the buttons? Would that help?
No, that's what I need to try because I know
Yeah.
Danny can do it. She can do her lift on her own, and I'm always impressed. I'm like, how do you like get your
How's
leg?
your tenodesis? Are you really good
Um,
with your Tino?
it is on the left. The right's kind of not good.
Weak. Yeah.
One side.
That's probably a big part of it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's I didn't realize your Tino was weak on one side.
Yeah, so I actually had none on this side, like my right side. I hurt my shoulder pretty bad when I got hurt. So then my right arm got contracted. This wrist was really floppy, but I got a tendon transfer so I can like kind of do it now, but obviously not like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, girl. Yeah. Good thing you got
It just
that.
screws me over. Like it really makes a lot of things harder.
It makes a huge difference. Yeah, I don't think people understand. I was with a friend who's another quad, actually C6-7, and him and I I'm able to like pick things up a little easier than him, and I was helping him, and I was like I noticed, and he's like, "Oh, my hands," he said, because my hands are so big. He was 6'4" or whatever, but he's like, my hands are so big that it actually makes Tino more complicated because
Oh.
they're like it's, and I was like, damn.
It's funny
I
'cause,
don't ever want to take for granted.
well,
Yeah.
I always think my hands are so small. Like I stretch my fingers, but they're so short that I'm like
Yeah.
it's like I stretch them and they just don't go anywhere.
See, and that's what, when I first had my injury, like they were very adamant about like
Yeah.
tenodesis care, like not stretching your hand except for in a position like this and like all of that. They gave me a Tino splint. So if people are wanting to know what they can do to improve your tenodesis at the beginning of an injury, those tenodesis splints are incredible. They really are. Like if
Do you
you can
wear
get
them
them to come.
still at night or anything?
Oh God, no. No, no, no. It's just when you're using during the day.
Oh,
So it actually trains your hand to pull back in a position that is it like grips right. Yeah, it's a tenodesis. It trains.
I should look
Yeah.
that up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, that's like some dinosaur stuff though. You got to remember I'm 22 years post and they don't offer that stuff anymore because nobody covers it with insurance.
True. Yeah.
So that's why, a lot of things are not offered that once were because there's no coverage for it, not because it's not good.
And then you don't even know what to get because they don't tell you about it.
They're all custom made, so you have to like get them, like you got to be casted for it. It's one
Wow.
of those things. Yeah, so I don't think
Yeah.
I
'Cause
don't
they never
it,
told me about that. And I was
mm,
injured in 2017 and it was annoying because they just said, don't stretch your fingers at all. Like you're gonna mess up your tenodesis. And then my hands got tight. I'm like, well,
yeah. Not stretching your hands is not recommended.
yes.
Like that,
Yeah.
no. Like I'm really grateful for the fact that like my Tino did watch our video. I have a tissue box, like you can see, like
I see
you
you
know,
like in your videos picking stuff up or holding something and
yeah.
I'm like, how is she doing that?
it it's important, people, like you got to tell them, like I'm gonna do a post on that now that you're like how did you get to this.
It'd be helpful.
It really is. I did let this finger contract a little bit and it won't go straight in. Anyway, But, those kinds of things, my tenodesis, the fact that I have good tenodesis allows me to live independently
Yeah,
throughout the day.
exactly. And
Yeah.
do you get spasms in your hands? I'm curious because I do sometimes.
Not really. I'm not a big I smoke so much weed. I'm not a spastic person.
That's
It's true though, people. No prescription medication, zero prescription medication.
I don't take anything during the day because I just hate how it feels.
Oh gosh, it took me like 2 hours to shit back in the day every time they gave me a bunch of pills. I'm
Yes.
not kidding you. I'm like,
God.
dude, my bowel program was like forever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I started just cutting stuff out. Now I'm like, 15 to 30 minutes and I'm in the shower, like, doo doo
Yeah,
doo. Yeah,
for me. Yeah,
yeah.
it really does make a difference. And I don't know how people take like so much gabapentin during the day. I'm like, how are you awake?
I used to take 1,200 milligrams
Oh
a
my
day.
gosh.
Yeah.
I don't think it did anything.
I
I
would, no. The nerve pain, like, I actually think it made it worse at times.
really,
I also resent the fact that they put me on nerve blockers when I'm trying to repair my nerves right after an injury. That was like, not to be like, questions, but,
no,
questions.
I was pissed too about a lot of stuff. They put me
Yeah.
on like a pretty high amount of like depression medication.
Oh, yeah.
And I
They
didn't
tried to
even
do that to me. And I was like, whoa, why do I feel like a zombie? Like,
yeah. And then
oh,
it was hard to get off of it when I got home. I'm like, this is horrible.
your body starts to really rely on it. I actually went and spoke with a group of doctors, and I told them, I said, please, when you have a new injury coming in, like, please truly consider before start
Mm-hmm.
prescribing these to really truly consider how hard it's going to be for this person to get off of it. A lot of times their depression and stuff is very situational. So maybe if you fix the pressure sore or you fix the fact that they can't go out,
Right.
you fix their wheelchair situation, then life turns around and they're going to be a little happier.
Exactly.
And I was like, wait, that shouldn't be the first
Yes.
option. Oh, you're sad? But the problem is, doctors don't really have a lot of experience with spinal cord injuries, ironically, unless they specialize in that,
Right.
which most people they don't. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that was great. I love all of the
cool.
stuff I learned from you. I feel like I'll probably be reaching out to you if I ever have to hire caregivers. But
Oh yeah.
it's nice to see like you can do it and live a great life. So that makes me
Oh girl, like my girls are incredible. I mean it. Like they
confident.
are my friends. They're really funny. Like, I mean, and the thing is you gotta pay well, like as long as you pay well, um, give them flexibility,
Mm.
give them understanding. Like I help my girls out outside of work. One of them got into a pickle, and this is something we should have shared, but I didn't think about it. But one of them got into a pickle, and she had had an old car that her uncle like bought from her that she thought he paid off, but like he didn't. So she got sued, and helped her settle like the loan debt stuff, and I ended up I she's like, but I don't have the money right now. It was going to be like $15,000 in a court thing. And I was like, you tell them you'll give them 10% of it, like whatever. Ask them, tell them you'll give them 1,500 if they just drop it.
Right.
And she's like, I don't have that money right now. I was like, I'll loan it to you. You can work it off for the nights. And she's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, shit, whatever.
Yeah.
And she has been so loyal to me ever since, because
Yeah.
it's about being there beyond being a boss.
Yeah.
So you'll figure it out. And I think, it's it.
I like
And
that.
you know what? If it works for you and Jack, it works for you and Jack. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I have had people be like, that's the worst.
Yeah, people are hella opinionated.
Oh, and I'm just like, okay. And
I actually do. I'll be honest. I do tell people that it's probably not the best thing because
yeah.
from what I've seen over the years, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So I am very honest that I tell people when they ask me, I'm like, I don't recommend that your partner is your full-time caregiver,
Yeah.
because it really changes the dynamics of the relationship in certain ways, but like not always. So like
But
you,
I feel like if you're going to be with them long term and you ever want to do a trip with them alone, like it'd be good for them to know what you need, I feel like.
I won't go on a trip without
Right.
my caregivers. No.
But yeah, at least like it's an option. You don't have to go alone. You could bring someone.
Yeah, that's true. Like I'm grateful. I used to do it, and do I love it? Yes, but now where I'm at in life, it would take a lot for me to let a man kick. Because I had a guy ask me recently. He's like, "Would you let me do your care?" I said, "Hell no." I was like, "Hell no." He was like,
And I don't know if I
"He's
would
like,
have like if I had to like date again, I don't know if I would do it either. Like it's just because he's been here since the beginning.
you're yes," and that's what. Trust me, like my ex-husband and I, it didn't work not because he did my care. It was other things. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? That was not that big of an impact on
And
us, but he
it
did
can be,
express something.
yeah. I
Oh,
feel
what'd you
like
say?
it can be caused from like maybe the stress of doing the care, but it's not usually
Yeah.
the care that's like the whole
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. But it is a lot. I mean, we have I mean, it's exhausting for us. I always think about it's exhausting for me, so like it has to be exhausting for them.
True.
And we have to be realistic. Like I think when we recognize that, then we do a lot better.
Yeah.
As you know, people who provide being a boss, like
Right.
when we really look at it from their view is when you get really good. The girls, so are you recording still? Because I'm going to tell you something off the
Want me to end it?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm like, put that one off of the
All right.
I'm like, I'm not